Beat podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. Candlestick Chronicles is the podcast that I host, and NinersWire.com is the place that I write. Joe Brazil does the newsletter for your favorite Odyssey Sacramento radio station.
All of them. Yeah.
Salute.
All of them.
Salute. We're very well qualified here on the Insiders, sponsored by Jiffy Lube. So I was going to get to this yesterday, but we were having a good conversation about the Kings anyway. So when did this season go to hell? Like, when did it really fall off the rails? Because I think I have there's a lot of candidates. There's a lot of ideas. And if you would like to submit one, hit us up in the chatty house at youtube.com/ESPN1320 and twitch.tv/ESPN1320. Or you can give us a call on the Elk Grove Kia talk line at 916-909-1320, 916-909-1320. What was the turning point of the season for you?
You know, I think it's interesting because we always look at moments that happen, and then when you zoom back, like someone mentioned early in the chat that, it was probably when De'Aaron Fox hurt his pinky, like in the closing days of training camp. That was an omen that we missed, that was probably more important than we thought. I have candidates for when it went south. I think the first candidate, like if we use hindsight as our like guide here, which is I think the only way we can do this, I think it's very possible that this season went south when they did the sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan. And that's not to just call out DeMar. It's because that specific trade to get older, to get a 6'6" small forward, to not get a defensive minded guy, all of that stuff, it probably set in motion what happened next, where they got off to a slow start, where things started to look disconnected very quickly, where De'Aaron Fox started to not feel like he was the guy with the ball, where, Mike Brown couldn't rein things in. I think if you would have chosen a different path at that point, you probably would have avoided a lot of what's happened here. But if we skip forward past that, the season had already spun out of control before Mike Brown got fired. I mean, they lost 5 games in a row right there. They were, they went 6 games under 500 with the next loss when Doug Christie took over. That's one major point. The next major point is where De'Aaron Fox pretty much made it clear that he wasn't going to be around long term. And so the season started to unwind. And then right after that, of course, they trade De'Aaron Fox. Like, there's just so many moments here, man. I don't know that there's any one that is the end all be all, but the collection of moments and the lack of foresight and the inability to avoid this situation is just, to me, what will stand out.
For me, it was, I think you're right. I think if you want to rewind all the way back, that was it. That was kind of the beginning of the end.
We just didn't know it.
That was the organization picking a direction that was doomed to fail. Zooming in a little bit, when you go through the schedule and you look at there, some people in the chatty house were saying the turning point was the loss to the Pistons that got Mike Brown fired. The De'Aaron Fox foul on Jaden Ivey, the 4-point play, that was because that got Mike Brown let go. That losing streak got Mike Brown let go. That led to De'Aaron Fox wanting out. I'll buy that too.
Well,
I'm going to go.
Just let me on that one really quick.
Please.
I will tell people they were going to fire him on the Sunday before that, but it was the company Christmas party.
So the Pacers lost then.
Yeah, the Pacers lost.
The Pacers lost.
Yeah, and so whatever happened with him and De'Aaron Fox that night, how he went off on De'Aaron Fox, that had no bearing on what actually happened.
I think that happened because Mike Brown knew what was coming.
Yeah.
The frustration of I'm about to lose my job. I see the writing on the wall here, I think is what led to that.
Yeah.
Or at least partially.
No, I mean, I would be frustrated too. And I mean, you're at a point where you have to turn around the season. Like, he knew that. He knew that what was coming if they didn't turn around the season. But if they win that Detroit game, I still think there's a good chance that they fire him the next day. Like, I don't think whatever happened that night had no bearing I mean, the fact that they lost and it was a 5th loss in a row,
Yeah.
but that was just like a collection of moments that were building to that.
Mhm.
And the decision had already, if not been completely made, was like super close to being
Way
made
down the road.
100%.
Yeah. The the point to me where it fell fully off the rails, like, "Oh, this season's over,"
Mhm.
was the stretch of games from March 5th to March 9th. Because you remember they come out of the All-Star break, they lose to Golden State, but then they kick the hell out of the Hornets, they kick the hell out of the Jazz, they kick the hell out of the Rockets, they kick the hell out of the Mavericks. That
Mhm.
was the game that Kyrie tore his ACL. And then they go to Denver with a chance for a 4-0 road trip. They're controlling that entire game. And then Denver goes off in the fourth quarter. They win the fourth quarter 32-17, and they walk out of there with a 116-110 victory in a game where the Kings had led pretty much the whole way.
Mhm.
They beat San Antonio in De'Aaron Fox's return. And then you have that brutal loss to the Clippers
Yeah, the Kawhi.
in overtime where Kawhi, left-handed push shot, bounces
Mhm.
on the rim a few times and goes down. And that was it. From that point, that was the beginning of 4 losses in a row. They beat Memphis and Cleveland. They lose 4 more in a row. They beat the Blazers. Now they're on a 3-game losing streak again. I think that point of the year where you lose that game to Denver, then you win an easy game against San Antonio, but then lose that game to the Clippers. If you win that Denver game and you win that Clippers game, that puts you at, you were at 32 and 28. That would have put you at 35 and 28. You would have been 7 games over 500 going into that home game against the Knicks.
Yeah.
And then going into that game at Golden State and going into a game at Phoenix, where maybe you lose to the Knicks, maybe you lose to Golden State, but I think they beat Phoenix in that scenario.
I think that what happens right here is, especially the overtime loss to the Clippers, it was such a gut punch. And not only did it cost you that game, but we all know what happened the next night. They had to fly home and they lost to the Knicks, right? Then it sets up this horrific scheduling run. So I think, again, the Clippers loss is a gut punch and you're reeling. And then, you expected the Knicks loss the next night, but then the back-to-backs like hit you. You had 5 games in 7 nights. You had 7
Mm-hmm.
games in like nine nights or 10 nights, whatever it was. So you have this wild schedule where it's not just that you played at Golden State, but the next night you play at the Suns. You have 2 days off and you play Memphis, and then it snowballs. You got the back-to-back against the Cavs and Bulls. You've got the back-to-back against the Celtics and Thunder. Like, there was no way to get off the mat. It's like you got punched, you went down, and someone just every time you went to go get up, someone knocked you back down.
Yeah.
And that's where, like, the resiliency of this team was tested beyond anything that it was capable of
Yeah.
controlling.
Yeah.
And that's where we are where we are today.
And if you get to 7 games over, maybe your resilience is different.
Yeah.
Maybe you're in the mix for the 7 and 8 seed, and now all of a sudden you're winning a couple of games that you lost. Or
Yeah.
if you do get knocked down, at least you're 7 games over. You have a cushion.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the point of the year where you just look and you go, oh, there was no bouncing back from that. We talked about it. Oh, can you bounce back against the Knicks? You have to tonight, and and you get smoked. And you go to Golden State. It's like, all right, huge game against Golden State. Can you right the ship? Nope.
The Golden State game told us more than we needed to know. And again, you zoom back out, that's when you know that they didn't even compete. It was 130 to 104. And that just was one of those moments where you're like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Because that's a game that we went in going, okay, the Knicks were a tough spot, but the Warriors, this is a team you can beat.
And you had 2 days, and the trip is a bus ride.
Yeah.
And, so that was your load up, get ready, big game against a team you know really well, who just made a bunch of changes like you did.
With a winnable game against Phoenix coming up.
Yeah, and then you didn't compete.
Nope.
You didn't compete against the Warriors.
And didn't really compete against Phoenix. You lost that game by 16 as well.
Yeah. It's really crazy to see how random this season is, where
it's so weird, dude.
You recover and you beat up on the Grizzlies, and then you beat the Cavs, which stuns everybody. But then you lose to the Bulls, and every time you had positive momentum,
the game you're up 19.
Yeah, every time you had positive momentum, the Kings just gave it away. There's a big difference between, again, if they pick up that win and go to 36 and 33, and you're 3 games over 500, you might not get back to 500, but every step that they could have had that moment, they didn't. And then, it starts to unwind,
Yeah.
like culminating in what we saw 2 days ago when they lost to what is one of the worst teams ever assembled in Washington, and just doesn't make any sense that you lose in that game, but you looked exactly like you had in so many other games this season.
On March 3rd, they were 19-9. Is that right?
Underdog?
Yeah, 19-9
Yeah.
underdog
Yeah.
on March 3rd. And they're now what? 23-22?
Something like that.
That's so rough, dude.
Yeah. You got the wind knocked out of your sails. They're 23-22 underdog.
And they started 19-9.
Yep. No, it's tough. I mean, this is one of those seasons that's gonna go down as one of the most disappointing. And not only that, confusing, baffling, like just one panic move after another, and then it leads to just a really, really sharp decline at the end of the season. And you can even look at things like the Malik Monk move late in the season as a bit of a forced move just to try to figure things out, right? Hey, we got to do something. Let's go back to Malik off the bench. And it's too late in the season. He's not ready to do that, clearly, and you spiral even further. And it's not one decision. It's so many small decisions that lead to where you are today.
Yep.
And it's so many small decisions and so many huge decisions. But it's how do you rank the gigantic decisions that happen this season?
Well, and it's something that doesn't seem like a big deal at first. And then as things start to play out, you go, oh, that's a big deal because of the 9 other things.
Yeah.
Like all those little moves they made, the Sasha trade. And we talked about this yesterday. And the Jalen McDaniels.
Yeah, Jalen McDaniels trade.
Like that type of move. And moving Malik to the starting lineup and signing DeMar DeRozan and trading DRFI. And all of a sudden, all these things start to stack up. And you're like, this was never tenable.
Yeah, even like it's so nuanced, but even the move that you just talked about, the Sasha and Davion trade to bring in Jalen McDaniels, you give up 2 second-round picks to dump the salary of Davion and Sasha. Sasha opts out and leaves for free. The Kings will tell you, hey, he wouldn't have opted out here, and it would have been like, okay, then tell him you'll give him $1 million. Tell him you'll give him too much. Just say, hey, we'll go ahead and leave. We'll just opt out of the last year. Whatever, keep that pick, right? Keep both of those picks, because if you're trading Davion Mitchell for Jalen McDaniels, that's a plus trade for Toronto. You're not giving up anything in that trade at all. So let's say you take back Jalen McDaniels. Again, if you just keep Jalen McDaniels and then you don't play him, that's one option. That keeps you a second-round pick. Now, when you go to trade season and you want to make a move, you can throw Jalen McDaniels' $4 million expiring contract into any deal.
Yes.
But now you also have that second-round pick. If you wanted to get Jake LaRavia at any point during the season, there's your $4 million salary with a second-round pick to go get him. But instead, you didn't have that anymore. The panic move to trade Jalen McDaniels will never make sense to me. And I know it seems like such a small move in this particular season, but when you get to a certain point and you only have 1 second-round pick to trade, and you want to go get a Jonas Valanciunas or you want to go get a LaRavia, and you're so out of small pieces of bonus to go hand out, like it just really, really screwed with the whole entire season and the way that they could have built.
It highlights that one move, like you said. Is that the reason that they're what are they, 2 games under 500?
Yeah, it's 4 games.
4 games under 500 now. It's not because of Jalen McDaniels, right?
No.
But that type of move is the just disorganized
death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yes. And no direction, no vision, no forward thinking. It's just all about right now. Okay, we don't want Jalen McDaniels. We need to get rid of him. We're not going to pay for him. Wait, what? Okay, slow down. It's all good. And that's the urgency of now. How do we make the playoffs now? We got to make the playoffs now. We got to do everything now. Well, wait, hang on. Because in doing that, you've derailed your trend. You're 4 games under 500 and you're in danger of missing the play-in entirely.
Yeah.
Trying to do everything right now.
And Jalen McDaniels was the length and athleticism you needed. Whether he's the right player or not, no, probably not.
No, I don't even think he's on a roster.
Well, yeah, but he's not on a roster right now. But you didn't have to, just so people know, the salary cap and the luxury tax and all that, it is not calculated until the end of the season. So you did not have to make that move then.
Sorry, I stand corrected. He's on the Wizards roster. He's played 4 games for them this year. Played 4 games, 7 minutes in 4 games.
Are you sure he's still there?
No, I'm not.
It might have just been a 10-day.
You're probably right. Let's see. Yeah, because